Okay. Hi, guys. So, this is Breathe the Same Air, but you're looking at me talk instead of me just like sitting up to my phone, making sure that you can't hear the air conditioning behind it in my car. I'm laying right here on my bed and just speaking. So now I'm looking at you. So what's up, guys? I wanted to be able to start recording these so that I can put it out there to YouTube or start making TikToks with it and just kind of expand to a bigger audience, I guess. Not that anyone has to listen to it, but I mean, maybe you like watching. I like watching podcasts. So I figured, why not start here? And you know what? I feel like I should have a microphone, but I don't have one. My dry shampoo. That's the microphone today. So I actually recorded this last week, like before New Year's, so that I could put a video and a podcast out before New Year's, but because 2021 just wanted to slap me in the face one more time, it recorded itself to a 12-hour long like thing, and I tried to shorten it, and in turn I ended up deleting the whole thing. Can I tell you how that happened? No, I can't. But here we are. So, for those listening on your phone right now, I'm using my dry shampoo bottle to be my microphone because I just feel like I should be holding something. You know? That's just kind of how I feel. But what I talked about on the episode that I deleted and what I wanted to talk about now is, 2021 in general, but just kind of like a time for reflections. Like, I know that I record this on January 6th, and that's a little bit past 2021, but I feel like it's never too late to reflect on what you've grown from. And personally, I learned and grew a lot in 2021, like from the people I was friends with in the beginning and the people that I'm friends with now and the people that I didn't bring with me into 2022 and the people that I did and the characteristics and the strengths that I learned in 2021 that I'm taking with me versus the losses and the things that I had to learn and things that I left back. And so I feel like it's kind of a good thing that I do this in 2022 as the 6 days that we're in for me to obviously look back at what I've learned. And I've taken notes. I have a lot of things that I want to talk about today. So let's just go ahead and get right in. So basically, one of the first things I wanted to talk about is taking a moment to look at the strengths because it's obviously always going to be highs and lows, and I choose to believe that everyone grows. Every single day, you're learning something new, whether you know it or not. Whether let's say that you learn something about yourself one day and you don't even think that you're learning about it, and then 10 days later, you're like, wait a minute, I know how to do this now. Like, it didn't matter in the moment, but look at you now and it does. You know what I'm saying? You do. But if you don't, let me elaborate a little bit more. So, personally, I started serving at my job this year, or in 2021. I started as a host, and now I serve more. And I love talking to people. And I always have. I've always liked to talk to people, to get my point across, to get their point into mine. Maybe I learned something about them. They learned something about me. We grow from each other. You're growing all the time and you don't even know it. Again, please understand. But when I realized that I liked doing it, it was because I was talking to people. When you're learning so many things about different people. And I think that is awesome. Awesome. And to see where they came from, even if you're talking to them for 2 minutes, because you have to go to another table and then talk to them, like, you're still learning something new about someone that you could take and carry with yourself that you didn't even realize you were going to do. Like, sometimes I'll talk to tables and they'll tell me something I didn't know, and then I can talk to another table and they'll say something and then I know it because I talked to someone else. Like, the point that I'm trying to get to right now is your entire life, everything you learn, everything that you learn, everything that you take with you for the rest of your life is being given to you by other people, whether you know it or not. Because for the longest time, I was like, I don't need anyone. Like, I'm going to do it all for me. I'm betting on me. Freeze frame. I had to slip it in there. But that's how I always felt, is that I was doing it for me, no one else. But the thing is there's always going to be someone who makes you want to do that. Someone who makes you feel so left in the trenches. Someone who just fucked you up badly, maybe. Or someone who you wanted to prove wrong. Whether you're doing it for yourself, they're the ones who made you want to do it. You don't need to prove yourself, and you should always be doing it for yourself. But how I see it is there's always someone there who kind of made you want to push yourself. And you can do it for yourself. You're supposed to do it for yourself. But if I don't, for me, and for I think a lot of people, if there wasn't someone there to push you or someone to make you drive, then maybe you wouldn't have done it. And I see TikToks and I see girls that are like, I'm doing this for myself. Like, I don't need a man. I don't need anyone. Like, I'm doing this for me. You go, girl. I am proud of you. And you are doing it for yourself. At that point, yes, you're doing it for yourself. But didn't someone kind of make you want to? Like, didn't you look at someone and you were like, I want to look like her. And I'm going to work really hard to do it. And I'm going to do it on my own. Or maybe you had an ex who made you feel like shit about yourself. And you just wanted to become a completely different you. And you wanted to prove him wrong. You wanted to prove his friends wrong. You wanted to defy the odds. Because I did. The last words that my ex ever said to me were,
you have a lot you need to work on.
I was fucking 15 years old being told that. And I was like, okay. What the fuck does that mean? Like, what? Who says that? Who says that? And that made me want to work for myself. And I did. But the thing is he said that and it made me want to do it. And that's like, a lot of girls go through a breakup and they're like, look at me. I'm hot now. Fuck yeah, you are, bitch. 100%. Like, you go, girl. And that's my whole point, is there's kind of people who push you to make you want to be the way you are. And so there's people who you will learn from, and there's people that you will grow from, and there's people that you'll leave behind and people that you'll bring with you. But that is all a part of the process. And that's kind of, like, I keep saying that's the point. But I have so many points, I mean, in this episode in general. And I know I ramble a lot, but again, that's just the ADHD. But everything wraps around to one at the end. So you just got to stay with me. You learn and you grow from other people. You are who you are because of the people you've met. And I saw this picture and I kind of want to post it on the Instagram, and maybe I'm going to make a TikTok. I'm going to figure out, it's probably going to be BTSA podcast because that's what everything is. But I found this picture and it's these little seeds, like of flowers. And all the little seeds kind of just like didn't do anything. Like the flower kind of grew a little bit and then it was like, it died. Or the seed just didn't go above the ground. But then there's the one seed that was planted and the flower was a flower. It was a beautiful flower. And the message behind the photo is, or like the little illustration is, there's going to be ones that don't work. But eventually there will be one. As in, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to lead up till when you're you. Like, you're going to have met 100 people and they know you differently than how you are now. You're going to meet 1,000 people and they know you differently than you are now. But there's going to be that one time where you're ready. And all those people got you to where you are now. You learn from every single one of them. Again, whether you know it or not. Because I've met people in my past where I was like, I knew you. I've talked to you maybe once, maybe 100 times. Maybe you were my best friend. And maybe I didn't realize that you were going to teach me the lessons that you did. And I didn't think any of that at the time. But here I am looking back. I could name you 12 people who I don't talk to anymore. But I learned something from every single one of them. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I'm here to tell you this. I'm here for you to relate to me. Because there's always that friend. There's always that enemy. There's always that bitch. You're just like, dude, really? Like, why do you act the way you act? You know? And you learn from those ones. Those are the people that you learn the most from. I mean, there's the greatest people in the world, aka my mom. greatest woman in the world. I've grown up watching my mom and how she carries herself. And everyone loves my mom. People come over and they would, in high school, everyone would come over and sit and talk to my mom. And I'd literally sit in my room and she'd be downstairs talking to them. Because who wouldn't want to talk to my mom? She's a lovely, beautiful, fantastic, amazing woman. And I've always watched that since I was a kid, about how much people like her. And so I've learned, I'm like, what does she do to make everyone like her so much? Like, what is she doing? Because I know she's great, but like, what does she say to make everyone love her? And she's just someone, I've noticed she's a listener. She listens to everyone. She will listen to your problems. She'll give you advice. She's open arms. She'll sit and talk to you without judgment. And that's why people love her. That's why I love her. And that is an example of someone who I've watched and someone who I've grown from, that she didn't need to leave my life. She will never leave my life. And that's someone who I carry with me every day. And that's something next that I kind of want to talk about is there's going to be people you learn from and you're going to grow from everyone. But then there's also going to be instances that it doesn't have to be people in general per se. It could be just, it could be a memory. It could be a scenario that happened. It could be trauma that you carry with you every day. And if it's trauma, I'm sorry. And if it was a good memory, then huzzah. But no matter what it is, you carry it with you every day to be who you are. Whether it's good or bad, it makes you who you are. And that's like how my mom, I watch her and I've tried to live like her every day because she's, like I said, amazing and everyone loves my mom. And while I'm not just like her, because I can't be, I'm my own person, and I'm trying to be, like I said, guys, we go through this together. Like, I'm trying to live my life completely judgment-free, loving thy neighbor, but like I said, I'm a waitress, and sometimes that shit gets really hard. Sometimes you deal with some assholes, and you have to be like, okay, thank you for screaming at me. Thank you, 60-year-old man, for looking at me and making that comment to me. No, you can't live your life like that every day. And I was just bowling last night, and the girl at the counter, she was so mean. But my biggest philosophy lately, and I encourage everyone to do this because you will be amazed when you start noticing how much it actually works. Killing people with kindness. Killing people with kindness. I've had to learn from it so much at my job. That's how it works. You kill people with kindness, and they don't know how to react. So we were bowling last night, right? It's a perfect scenario for you. We were bowling. And this chick was pretty, like, you could tell she was just over it. It was like 9:15. We were trying to get two lanes next to each other. She said we don't have two lanes next to each other. We found two lanes that were next to each other that no one was using. She didn't want to give them to us. Then she eventually did. But you could just tell she was pissed off at the world. And I feel sorry for her. Like, I felt sorry for her. I was like, she's dealing with 8 people coming in. She probably thought she was going to get out of here early. Now she knows she's not. Like, I just tried to put myself in her shoes. And I was with someone who kept calling her, like, mean things. Like, there's one thing to call a girl a bitch, but he was calling her other things. And I was just kept my mouth shut. I was like, it's uncalled for, but whatever. I would go over her and I was like, thank you so much. I tipped her. When I dropped my shoes off, when I picked them up, I was like, thank you so much. Like, I smiled at her. I was like, oh, here's my friends. Like, she says thank you too, like, on her behalf. Like, just trying to be nice to her, because I could tell she was having a rough fucking day. There's always those people that are a little, like, and you don't want to be nice. But that's when the growth comes in, where you really have to dig deep and be like, smile. Just smile it off, because if she's mad, then why let yourself be mad? You know? That kind of, I was like 10 points wrapped into one. And I know that this is what my friends are talking about when they say that I get sidetracked, but I felt like the story was kind of, had to do with what I was saying. Killing people with kindness is a part of something that I've learned and grown from. And I learned it from working at a restaurant. And if I didn't work at a restaurant, I probably wouldn't have learned it as quickly. Like, everyone tells you, but until you, like, experience it yourself, you're like, no. I feel like it's kind of like that with everything. But this is something that I really, really encourage you to go with. And like I always say, everything happens for a reason. I will preach that until I can no longer. Everything happens for a reason. I worked at this restaurant for a reason. I have learned so much from working here. But one of the biggest things is to kill people with kindness. And it doesn't always work. But if you believe it does, then it does. If you walk away knowing that you did the best that you can, then what else can they do? But I kind of want to move on to my next point. Because, like I said, this episode is all about, like, 2021 reflections. And maybe just not you don't have to stay on 2021, but just, like, reflections in general. And another thing I want to look back at is friends. Gross. Looking back on the friends that you've had. And realizing if, A, they taught you anything. 2, if you're bringing them into the new year with you. And C, if you want more people in your life like them. That is a big one. C is a big one. Let me ask you this. You've had a friend who was the greatest person in your life. You did everything with them. Your family was close to theirs. Theirs was close to yours. You guys did family vacations together. They were just your best friend. And you didn't think that you could get any closer with anyone ever. You go through life's hardest moments with that person. Hardest moments. You go through your first breakups with that person. And like I said, they're just your best friend. And you don't think that you can ever, no one will ever replace them. They're your best friend for life. They're going to be in your wedding. And then you grow up. And you're not as important in their life anymore. There wasn't a fight. There wasn't any miscommunication. You just kind of fell out. And you don't know why. And you don't know how to go about it. Personally, I mean, I feel like maybe I'm not the only one that's happened to. But I learned a lot from that friend. And I only will ever wish them the best. Only ever. One of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. Absolutely. They deserve the world and more. Because we never had a fallout. Just not as close as we were. We don't talk. That was a friendship that I lost a long time ago. And like I said, there was never anything that happened. Just fell out. New friends. But I learned a lot about myself because I never thought that I could live. It wasn't a relationship, obviously, but I always thought that I would never have another friend as close as I was with this friend. And when we stopped being as close, I wasn't sure, like, what to do. I was like, oh, I can't call them. Like, they're with someone else. And I was like, oh, well, you can see that they're obviously hanging out with someone else. I'm like, what do I do now? And then I just got new friends. And I hung out with new people. And I loved it. I made awesome memories. I had a great time with my new friends. But one of the biggest things I took away from losing that friendship was people don't last forever. And as much as you think they're going to, and as much as you want them to, a lot of people come into your life as a lesson rather than a reason to stay. And like I said, with this friend, I took a lot away from that friendship, but that was one of the biggest things. She was a lesson. She wasn't going to stay forever. She wasn't meant to, I guess. Maybe again later in the future. But that's just how it goes sometimes. They were a lesson. And I've had a lot of friends that were lessons. They weren't staying in my life forever. They weren't there to benefit me forever. And some of them I was friends with a lot longer than I should have been. For half of high school and all of middle school, I was friends with a girl that made me feel bad about myself. And I shouldn't have stayed friends with them for so long, but I didn't know what else to do. I was scared of, again, experiencing life without that friend. And then I realized, not only was she crazy, but I was bringing myself down by being friends with her for way too long. And I didn't deserve that. No one deserves that. You deserve to only surround yourself with people who make you feel good. There's a sound that's trending on TikTok right now, of BoJack Horseman, where it says, I feel bad. You make me feel bad. And she was the perfect representation of that. Not the first friend, the other one. But there's people in your life who are going to make you feel terrible about yourself. And it may take you a long time to realize that they do that. Maybe you're just like, oh, I feel like shit all the time. Maybe I should call blah, blah, blah. But you don't realize that they're the ones making you feel like shit. And that's enough. Like, those are the type of friends you grow the most from. Like, you can have, like I said, there's that first friend who was the greatest. I don't think I've ever been as close to someone as I have been with her. And very close, but it was a type of connection. And I learned a lot from an amazing friendship, just as much as I've learned a lot from horrible ones, and ones that I stayed in for too long, and ones where people fucked me over and I shouldn't have been in it. I've had a lot of those too, but this isn't Lauren's pity hour. This is Lauren's helpful hour, if it even lasts an hour. But I just wanted to bring that up in this podcast because it's all about reflections today. And a biggest part is reflecting on your friends and who you choose to bring with you. And you should always surround yourself with people who make you feel good. Not people who make you feel bad. Not people who make you feel like you shouldn't eat the extra piece of pizza. Or people who make you feel bad for the size that you are. Or people who talk down about you. Or people who don't let you gas yourself up. Or people who, when you compliment yourself, they tell you you're getting a big head. Don't surround yourself with those people. Surround yourself with people who make you feel good about you. Because that's all you ever deserve and more. And I'm here to tell you that in case no one else ever has. You only deserve the best. And you only deserve people who make you feel good. Don't surround yourself with people who make you feel lesser than you are. Life's too short. Life is too fucking short to hang out with people who make you feel lesser than you. Because you're pretty fucking great. Do you know that? You're a great ass person. And I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad you're listening to this. You're beautiful. You're amazing. That's all I have to say. And never forget it. Surround yourself with the good people as good as you are. Surround yourself with people who make you feel the most you. And that brings me to my next point of there's the friends that you reflect on. There's growth from the things you meet, the people you meet, the experiences that you go through. And then there's also the time where you just need to sit back and reflect on yourself. Because you can sit back and look at people being like, they make me feel bad, I'm going to cut them out of my life. Done. Do it. What do you have to lose? Who cares? They're not helping you, get them out. And then there's where you can look back on your experiences and be like, wow, I learned a lot from that. And I'm better from it now. You go, girl. You did it well. I'm proud of you. But then you have to sit back and you need to reflect on yourself. Have I done something to benefit myself today in any way? Have I relaxed? Have I pushed myself? Have I eaten something I wanted to today? Did I sleep enough? All things that are part of reflection. And I'm going to bring this up more like near the end. But I think that everyone should have, I feel like a good name for it is reflection hour, but hour is a really long time for me personally who can't sit for that long. So I think that everyone should take a solid reflection 10 minutes. I've been trying to get into journaling more. I actually, since I'm sitting on my bed, I can show you guys. I have this, it's a make someone happy book. And what I like to do is go sit and like outside or sit at a park and I write in it. And it has little things like, there's this one. And the top says, write a letter to your best friend on their very worst day. So I wrote to my friend Ansley. I'm not giving it to her. But Ansley, if you're listening, let me know if you want it. And then there's little pages down here that I haven't done yet. It says, favorite news article ever. I couldn't think of one off the top of my head, but I'd probably be able to. Here's one. Tell somebody who you often take for granted how much they mean to you. And you just write in a little speech bubble. It's very therapeutic. And then there's this one. I love it. It's this side is cut these tiny notes out and leave them in places for strangers to find. So you write, here's some you fill in your own. Here's some that they made for you. This one says you've got this. And then I also have some notes right here that I make of little saying. I just sit here and write them when I'm bored. This one says, I'm so happy you exist and I'm so proud of you. This one says, you deserve love and attention just like everybody else. I like to write them when I'm bored, and when I go out, I'll just stick them in people's cards. I don't do it with other people because they think that I feel like they'll think I'm weird. But that's something that I do during my reflection time, is I think of other ways that I can help people feel better, because that's important for everyone to feel good. And doing those little random acts of kindness make me feel good. And so when you're sitting there reflecting, I think of the things that make me feel good. Doing that is one of them. Writing my little journal. Honestly, I got this a 5 below, guys. Make someone happy. And then I also have this little book that I haven't gotten to read yet. It's called The Book of Happy, 250 Ways to a Happier You. I've read a few of them just on and off. And I think I'm going to do an episode where I go, after I finish reading this book, and I'm going to write all my favorite pages and read them off to you, and we'll elaborate a little bit more. I'm really excited to do that. I have that in my notes folder, but back to what I was saying. Sorry, this is what happens. Reflecting is probably one of the most important things I would say I do to benefit myself. But when you're sitting and you're reflecting on you, think about what made you happy that day. I'm going to run you through what I do, okay? Because this is why you're here.
It's my podcast.
One thing I'll do is what made me happy today, what didn't make me feel as happy, and if there's nothing that day, then that's like a check mark day. Go you, go me, go everyone.
Fuck.
When I go through it, I go through and I'm like, what made me happy that day? What didn't make me as happy that day? Something that I did that benefited me that day, like going to the gym, going for a walk. You know, the past couple of days, my brother and I have been watching Marvel movie marathons, and that benefited me because I sat with my little brother and I had a good time and I relaxed. And I work a lot this week, so I needed it. Today, I think I'm going to go on a walk after I'm done recording this, and I work tonight. So another thing that I do when I'm reflecting, other than going through my daily checklist, is I do what I was just talking about, where I think about people and experiences that have benefited me. I kind of do a little mental checklist, like, oh, this person made me happy today. I'm going to keep them around. Or this person didn't make me that happy today. Doesn't mean I'm going to cut them out, but I look at what made me happy and what didn't, and sometimes it does have to do with people. And it usually does. And there's no harm in that. You don't need to cut everyone out every time they piss you off. That's not what I mean by all means. But going back to it is, reflecting on you can be really hard because sometimes you don't want, no one really likes the truth. And reflecting on yourself means giving yourself the truth that sometimes you maybe don't want to hear either. Like, sometimes I'll sit and I'm like, Lauren, today was one of your gym days and you didn't do it. And I'm like, you could have done better. You can always do better. And that's not me shitting on myself. I shouldn't, like, yes, I deserve breaks, but when I have a goal for myself and I didn't meet it that day, then I kind of feel bad about myself. I'm like, really? You could have gone and you didn't. What stopped you? You know? And you're allowed to have those days. That's a big part of reflecting, is being able to coach yourself. You're going to be your biggest fan. You're going to be your biggest coach. You're going to be your biggest motivator a lot of the time. And if you're not pushing yourself, no one else is going to do it for you. So there could be days where you're like, man, I should have gone to the gym. Man, I should have eaten better today. Man, like, I shouldn't have sat on my phone for that long. And that's okay to think those things. It's healthy. It's okay to coach yourself. And it's okay if you didn't have the day you expected that day. It's okay. But as long as you learn from it and you're like, I'm going to do better tomorrow, then you've done all you can. You've reflected, you figured out how, like, what you've done wrong, you figured out how you're going to fix it, and you execute it. You make a plan. You write it down in your journal. You write it down on your iPad. You mentally do it. You do it on your notes. It's just whatever you need to benefit you. That's what you look back and reflect on. And as long as you acknowledge it, then you're doing great in my book. And take time to reflect on yourself today. And I want you to reflect about what you've done today. Whether you're listening to this at 9 a.m. or you're listening to it at 9 p.m. If you're listening to it in the morning, what are you going to do today? What are you excited about? You got plans? You going to sit at home? You work? Going to the gym? What are you eating today? Or if you're at night, what did you eat today? Did you work? Did you have plans? Did you go to the gym? Did you have a fun day? I don't know. Reflect. Sit and think about what made you happy, what didn't make you happy, what's going to make you happy, what could happen today. Just live your life with expectations. And that's not a bad thing. That's something I reflect on too. So take some time. Actually, pause this podcast to go think about that. Here, hold on. Pause. Okay. Go ahead. Anyway, I think I've talked about mainly everything I wanted to today. I opened a lot of, I consider my life a book, and I think today I talked about a few chapters of things that, the whole reason I started this podcast. And today I talked about a lot of them, and I'm really glad that I got to, and that I did on camera and not just from my phone. And if you guys take anything away from this, again, it was all about reflecting. And while we reflected on our experiences, we reflected on our friends, I think the biggest thing that we should take away, or you should take away, is reflecting on yourself. And I know I've said it a lot, but I did, you know what else I want to talk about is, my friends have told me that in these episodes, I repeat myself a lot. And again, comes with the diagnosis, but it also comes with the fact that sometimes I need to hear it again. And so I'm going to repeat myself because I need to hear, Lauren, you need to reflect on this today. Or, Lauren, they weren't the nicest to you. Let's reflect on that. I'm going to repeat it because not only should you hear it, but I need to hear it. So we're on this together. I'm going to say that again. We're all in this together. We're learning together. It's just how it goes. So I'm going to leave you guys with the notion that I want you to reflect today, and that I hope that you really enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please give me you can rate it on Apple. Rate it. Tell me what you think. Leave me feedback. Follow the Instagram at BTSA Podcast. I think I'm making the TikTok soon, so when I do, go check up on that. Anyways, guys, thank you. I hope you're having an awesome day. I hope you have an awesome week. And remember, we all breathe the same air. Thanks, guys. Bye.